My name is Mirjam, and this is my story about how I arrived here in front of this camera in this very moment, talking and eventually connecting with you. The moment I knew what I wanted to do with my life was over 20 years ago. I was 20 and I had just met my third therapist. And that being my third therapist, I was very tired of telling my story to therapists. So with this one, I had another idea. I told him if he would be willing to read what I had been writing about the past 7 years, I would be willing to work with him. I developed an eating disorder quite early. In the beginning, anorexia, and I was so slim that my whole body grew fur, a kind of fur, a lot of hairs in order to protect me from the cold. And when not eating anymore was not an option for me anymore because my parents wanted to put me to hospital, I had the clever idea to eat and vomit. This is known as bulimics. There was no internet at that time. I didn't know what bulimics was, but I knew from the very beginning that something was about to go very wrong. And as with any addiction, addictions are pretty isolating. So as a teenager, I had maybe one person I could talk about what was going on within me. And as there was no one else, I started to write a diary in extensive forms. I mean, not in a way of, dear diary, this is what happened today. No, it was more like documenting a stream of consciousness or a stream of feelings that I was not able to process. And also documenting how much I was eating and when I was vomiting and all of these things. So back to the therapist. I grew up in a very tiny village and I felt I never belonged there. And when I was 20, I moved to Berlin, which seemed to be for me the place of freedom. I had met a way older man than me, way, way older. And because of this man, I was able to enter a world that was the world of my dreams, sitting with artists and drinking wine and having a life like in a movie. However, this was fun and entertaining in a sense, but it didn't make the eating disorder go away. So I felt I needed help again. And now we're landing back to the therapist. I didn't expect him, honestly, to read what I had written because it was such a pile. I printed it out of my diary. And the next week, I came back to the session and he had actually read everything. And he said, would you be willing that I share this material with other patients? Because I believe they can highly benefit from it. And I was sitting there, staring at him, and my heart started to open, which it didn't, it was not open that time. And I felt like, wow, all of what I had gone through made all of a sudden sense because I could help other people and do something that I love, writing and finding words for complex emotions and processes that were happening within me. And it seemed like these processes were universal. So a sentence came to me in this moment, and this sentence said, I want to live and write about it. I already said it would take over 20 years until I started to dare to go into this direction. And this therapist, he was really wise. He said, you know, I have read all of your things, and now you will read one of mine. And he handed me a dossier. I still have it. Not here in Portugal, but at my parents' place. And this dossier, the title said, the worst thing in life is the wasted talent. And I didn't even have to open this dossier because I knew what he was pointing at, that I was not using my talents at all. And later I learned, if you don't use your talent, if you don't use the voice, in my case, I had to vomit everything. In your case, you might find another valve to redirect your creative energy that you're not expressing. I read a dossier. It was about a patient of his, a young man he had treated, highly talented, and he never used his talents until he decided to leave life. Now, you do not have to leave physically life. I didn't, but I left my life. I left the life that was here in my heart, that I knew the life I could live, expressing what was within me. And instead, I took a lot of detours. I entered a lot of other cages that I built them myself. I built my own company. I was never home in there. And later, in order to leave this company and to live a more free life, time-wise and location-wise, I became a screenwriter. Actually, I went to one of the best schools in Germany in order to acquire the permission to write. And I never wrote. This is not true. I did. But I never published anything that was coming from my heart and that I really wanted to share for a very long time. When I look at my life, and over the course of your life, you go to many workshops and people ask for your values. And for a long time, I didn't know what mine were because I had many. One that is ranged very high for me is freedom. And by that, I mean, first and foremost, the inner freedom. The inner freedom to express what is within me and to translate it into the outside world. This doesn't only go for creativity, it goes for, am I able to voice with another person what I'm feeling? Am I able to voice my no? Am I able to detect my no and then express it? So you see, freedom, or more precisely, the process of liberation, is something that's a driver my whole life. And the second, and it will remain like this. And the second is love. The ability to experience and to express love fully. So both go hand in hand. And then there's also beauty. Because I feel in the worst of my moments, when I was not able to experience something called gratitude at all, at least I could always find beauty. Beauty in something that I either created or in something I witnessed. This candle, to me, with its color, it's very beautiful. And it's on my desk. And when I look at it, I feel good. And in the end, this is the same what gratitude is doing to you. It brings you in a state of appreciation. So beauty, for a long time, became my form of gratitude. Love, beauty, liberation. As I already shared, it took me over 20 years to dare to share my thoughts. In the beginning, I started to speak up to my friends. So it took me over 20 years to fulfill what this therapist that time said. And during these 20 years, I navigated a lot of liberations from conditions, as said, that I had created myself. I left my company. I left a relationship. I left the eating disorder eventually, which is the topic in itself. I left drinking alcohol and smoking cigarettes. And also, I did 1 year of drugs in my beginning 20s, and this is also part of the past. So I went through the process of liberating myself from the cages I had created and I had needed for a certain period of time. And this process is still ongoing. It's just now running on another level. And if you are dealing with any addictions, for example, know that they make the best boot camp to prepare you to face, in my opinion, the greatest addiction of all. And this is what this channel is all about. To offer my perception on shifts that you can do in everyday life that lead to you entering your life fully, stepping out of the cage. And it's not necessary to live there. So, one shift, one step at a time. I see you soon.